Hey guys, this is Bob Kudlow with Trade Genius. I got Phil with me, another edition of our podcast, and you're not going to want to miss this one. Our illustrious leaders are once again trying to enshrine unconstitutional laws, especially around digital asset with their Digital Asset Money Laundering Act. What a mouthful. Stay tuned. We'll talk to you about what it is, what it isn't, and why it's unconstitutional and what we think is going to happen next. So stay tuned.
Trade Junior.
So Phil, what the heck is this all about? Elizabeth Warren strikes again. Now she wants to get into your wallet. So can you kind of explain what this is and what it's not, and should we worry?
Yeah, you're not joking. I mean, they really do want to get into your wallet. And for a lot of people, crypto is really cool because you can hold your own. You can be your own bank account, right? And this is basically a bill that they're introducing that infringes on that right. So this Digital Asset Anti-Money Laundering Act is basically very invasive on your privacy, and I think that's the huge takeaway from this. One thing, I'll throw some slides up here. Coin Center, which is they're an advocate for cryptocurrencies, but they basically brought out that in this case the legislation is clear. I'll just read it off here. On its face, the drafters intend to impose permissioning regulation upon software developers and node operators. So you can run your own node, right, and have your own wallet, hardware wallet, and run your own node. It's very private, right? You're in control of all that, and they want to infringe on that. They intend to impose permissioning regulation upon software developers and node operators, as well as a long list of similar non-custodial entities. So in other words, the bill has been deliberately crafted to make permissionless blockchains unavailable to Americans by forcing all validators and developers of these networks to gate and surveil their infrastructure. The intended result is to forbid Americans from having any technological guarantee of personal privacy or individual agency when making transactions online, irrespective of whether those transactions have anything to do with crime. To the extent cryptocurrencies could even continue to exist in a world where this bill becomes law, the Americans' ability to use them would be limited to a fully permissioned and surveilled environment. So basically, all you can do is really use a CBDC because and it's crazy because you're like, man, it's like this is supposed to be like we're the land of the free, right? And it's just like, nope, not with this bill. This bill is like super draconian.
You know what this tells me, Phil?
What?
Is that they're absolutely petrified of the collapse of the dollar, and they don't want anybody to have anywhere else to hide, to force everybody into their financial repression schemes that they're going to use to protect themselves once nobody wants the dollar.
Right. Yeah. And this next slide here, a little more write up on this. The bill's focused exclusively on financial surveillance and does not address any of the issues of corporate control that led to the collapse of FTX. So meaning that this bill doesn't really address, they're coming up with these bills on the, in the wake of FTX and really missing the ball here because they're going after your constitutional rights using FTX as an excuse without really even fixing the issues that created FTX, right? So, perversely, however, this bill would effectively outlaw every form of self-custody of digital assets that prevents the kind of counterparty risk to consumers exemplified in the FTX collapse. The bill will endanger rather than protect consumers who are interested in owning or using cryptocurrencies by forbidding them from having agency and control over their own assets. And so that's, again, you want to have your own crypto in your own control off the exchanges, right? Not your keys, not your coins, meaning that you actually hold custody of your own tokens. So, this is going in the completely wrong direction, very, very draconian, massive overreach on your rights. And the one bright shining light here is these two guys, Senator Toomey and Loomis, I think have a really good grasp of cryptocurrency and its role, and they really understand the whole FTX debacle and how it's not a crypto problem, it's a criminal problem, right? And so, they had and you can look this up, you can search for these guys on Twitter, Toomey and Loomis, just Google them and you'll have this link to this clip of them basically talking about how code is speech and you need to protect free speech or, code. And like anything else, technology can be used for good or bad, and you really have to go after the actors, not the technology. Otherwise, the U.S. is going to be left behind as we're progressing to this, going into things like Web3 and blockchain technology. I mean, this is just a really poor take on what's transpired, and really a power grab that I think ultimately probably won't survive. My take on this, is basically that, in a nutshell, what this thing is doing is it's requiring anyone who helps maintain a public blockchain infrastructure to register as a financial institution. That even means if you're running your own node, which is super ridiculous. You'd have to identify and record personal information of everyone who uses their software or sends transactions over their computer. So if you're running a Bitcoin node, everybody on the network has to, you'd have to register them. That's impossible. That'd be like you on the internet, and because you're connecting to different websites, having to register everybody that went to the website. I mean, it's just absolute madness. And then you'd have to basically outlaw any privacy tools. So any, Bitcoin, any mixing or any privacy coins, that would be completely outlawed. But the counter argument to that, Bob, is that they're going to have scrutiny from the courts because of prior restraints on protected expression and compelled speech. So that's one issue that they're going to have to fight with this, and that it would endanger rather than protect consumers by having control over their own assets. So there's some issues here that I think aren't a slam dunk for this bill. And really, the people that were introducing this bill, Senator Warren, I think she's running third in her polls. This is probably more of a peacocking type thing than anything else. And so, a lot of bills get introduced. I highly doubt that this bill in its current form is going to make it. I think there's going to be a massive, massive amount of backlash. But it is interesting to see that where these guys, how far they want to reach, at least on the initial drafts of these things, and where some of their heads are at, and something that you need to keep an eye on. So I think probability-wise, probably doesn't make it in its current form, but it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, look, sometimes they launch these really draconian bills, and they come back and compromise, with something that's still awful. But, anything she ever introduces, nothing ever happens with that. But, what this is telling me is that, look, they're creating a caste system here. If you have money and you have the ability to travel, you're going to fly to a country that has a casino, and in the back room of the casino is going to be like, hey, I want to put $10,000 in to hit the casino, but that $10,000 goes into Bitcoin, and it goes into a wallet you just bought there, and it gets thrown into a safety deposit box, and how's the government going to know any of that? It's not like it's going to stop this. The whole purpose of crypto and Bitcoin was to not be in a position where it can be confiscated.
Right.
So you take a trip, you have to declare whether or not you're bringing in $10,000 in or out of the country. But if you're out of the country, hey, I went to a casino. You know what I mean? And bad luck, And
Yeah.
then what are they going to do? And you have $10,000 in Bitcoin now offshore, to use as you need to. So
Right.
I don't think this is going anywhere. I think this just shows how ignorant she is.
Yep.
Or how petrified she is because, she's a big liberal, and she knows that if we go to a blockchain, non-inflationary type of currency, her gravy train is gone.
Yep.
And I think the left hates the idea that you actually have to then show value for your spending versus just spending and diluting currency. You can't do that with Bitcoin. So I think it's more that, like you said, I think it's peacocking. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but it just shows you intent and mindset. And hopefully people like this never, ever, ever get in a position where they can pass this stuff.
Yeah, and there's obviously multiple lobbying forces, I think, that are pro crypto and against crypto, and some of them are pro crypto through legacy banking only. Okay, so the banks get their hands around this, and it's status quo, right? Nothing really changes. They've even corrupted crypto through the legacy banking. Everybody's sick of legacy banking, right? That's why most of our people watch channels like this, because it's just the trying to get away from socializing the losses and privatizing the gains, right? People are sick of it, and they want to take things into their own hands. So they do things like, handle their own money, handle their own trades, crypto, handle your own assets, be your own bank. And so this is the complete opposite of that. And I think there's enough people now that I just don't think there's going to be support for this ultimately in the end. But it's always a constant battle.
Yep, I agree.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, just wanted to bring that to your attention, kind of give you our take on it, and just what the ramifications would be on something like this if it were to pass. But again, we don't think it really will, but we'll keep tabs on it for you guys and let you know if there's any changes to that. So with that, we're going to leave you guys with another episode of Trade Genius Podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. It helps us so much. Bob, thank you for your thoughts on this, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys.
Trade Genius.